I am aware that I am aware. There are two eyes in there. The first eye may be seen like a big eye, and the second eye is the typical eye. So when I watch my hand, I may say I'm aware of my hand. But there's another big me, so to speak, watching me, watching the hand. And it is aware. So I am aware that I am aware. And when you go through this two identities, so to speak, big eye and typical eye, and in that process, in that moment, when you go through this awareness, the two eyes would evaporate, and you may find the vast emptiness, the void. So let's try again. I am aware that I'm aware. It's a paradox, but you can break through the paradox if you keep practicing it. I am aware that I am aware. Maybe you can watch your hand and go through that. It's almost like the big me or whoever is watching me is behind watching me watching the hand. And in that moment, the I dissolves. The paradox may be broken through. And then there's nothing but awareness, the state of being. And when you find that state, everything evaporates, there's nothing there. But in that nothing is just a huge, infinite void. And that's the pure awareness, your being, pure being state, beyond the mind comprehension. So the words, the sentence, I'm aware that I'm aware, is also gone. There's just pure experience, pure awareness. There's nothing to be seen. There's no mind working. Yet there's that pure awareness in that empty void. And your whole being is lively. Eckhart Tolle talk about energy field. or there's the vibration throughout the whole body and existence. And that is not just you, but the whole universe may be vibrating. Because there's no identity of me and my body. Everywhere is that awareness in that space, in that state of being. This is, to me, the same as I am that I am. There's peace, eternal peace. But at the same time, there's that energy, the movement. There's a Zen koan to capture that. So I found in Gateless Gate, which is a book for Zen. I think number 19 is the one called Ordinary Mind is the Way. And it goes like this. Joshu asked Nansen, what is the ordinary mind? Or what is the way? And the Nansen says, ordinary mind is the way. Joshu asks, how can I find it? Nansen answers, if you look for it, you cannot find it. Joshu then asks again, if so, how do I know if I get it? And Nansen answers, it is like a blue sky, emptiness. So there's nothing to say about it, yes or no. You just have to find it. And with that, Joshua understood. It says that Joshua still kept on digging into it for the next 30 years. Joshua is a very famous Zen master who lived 120 years or something. So that sentence I came up with, I'm aware that I'm aware. I don't remember where it came from, but I thought it was so profound that you get to that stillness, the void, that emptiness, that everything is melted in there. Everything is evaporating, me, the mind, and there's that calm, quiet peace, or the energy of the universe felt, that everything is as it is. And there's a blissful sensation of the peace, as maybe evidenced by the whole body vibrating, resonating to the notion of I'm aware that I am aware. So that the paradox of the two eyes and the awareness are like evaporating, And what's there when you are in that state is pure bliss in that emptiness, vast emptiness, or stillness, as Eckhart Tolle talk about. Stillness speaks. So you can listen and you are the stillness. The whole universe is in the stillness. The whole energy field vibrating in one. I looked for the sentence in the web. I'm aware that I'm aware. But I couldn't find one precisely, but Krishnamurti mentioned something about it. To me, when Krishnamurti commented, he didn't say exactly like I interpreted or understood, but he said observer is not, meaning there's no typical way of observer aware is not there. He even said it's not that you are aware. If you are still in the mind, you are not aware. But if you transcend that paradox, then you don't exist anymore. So there's pure awareness because it's not the realm of the mind. The mind has its own dimension that it works on its way within that limitation. But this is beyond that mind dimension. It's the dimension of the universe, so to speak. The mind is a creation of the evolution of the human being with the brain, added later, and then we play on it inside of the mind and think that's everything, but that's the limitation of the mind. That if you get to the root of our existence, of where we came from and what's happening everywhere, there's that dimension, and in that space is when the universe is functioning. The law of universe is prevailing, except the human mind cannot reach out there. So there are those two dimensions, or the state of being, so to speak, the mind state and the original state of being, where everything is happening, the liveliness, every phenomena, its law of nature and functioning. That's the, you may call it the true dimension, whereas the mind is added later to play with that as if mind has its own way of doing things to play. And it has its worth as a human being to benefit from. but there's always a limitation of it. So the awareness is to penetrate through that I am aware that I'm aware, and that I will be gone, to bridge the gap of those two dimensions. So when I'm talking, I'm using the mind and the words, but with the experience of the state of being, the universe, and the vast stillness, I'm engaged in that space, but bridging the gap, so to speak, in between those two dimensions. So that by itself is a paradox, and that's the paradoxical expression of I am aware that I'm aware. So there's a state, there's the resolution, so to speak, of the conflict that exists between the universe functioning and the mind functioning. Again, the mind has limitation to go over the limitation of the mind. You might call it the wisdom to bridge, penetrate those, so that we find the harmony, so to speak, in our existence, connected to the law of universe, the will of universe that's functioning everywhere, within us and everywhere else. So when we have that absolute way of things happening from moment to moment, and by identifying us in that state as it prevails everywhere, in that vast stillness or emptiness, like a blue sky, as in the corn of that Nansen, talking to Joshua, it's like the blue sky. There's nothing, no good and bad, it's just the absolute state, and you get there. That's the way. Thy will be done, or being done. So that's the awakening, or some may call enlightenment. You may not be there all the time, but that's the root, and that's the awakening, the pure awareness, realization of that. So let's try again. If we get there, or if you get there, if there's anybody listening, I am aware that I'm aware. No thinking, just awareness. And the awareness is everywhere. And we are one. So I'm aware that I'm aware. And there's the peace and bliss. The bliss may be called as Dhamma Piti. I think it's Sanskrit, or could be Pali language. Dhamma is law, Piti is bliss. You have a bliss and peacefulness when you are in line with Dhamma, or law of universe. I'm aware that I'm aware. I'm breathing very calmly and quietly. Muscle is very relaxed. My whole body is dancing, so to speak, vibrating with this sense of Dhamma piti, or being with Dhamma, not constrained by the mind. When the mind goes through the conflict and suffering, there is that stiffness or the blockage in our system, the body. The gap between mind and body creates the problem, seen as suffering, and that suffering can be bridged, processed by those two universes or two dimensions I talked about, the mind dimension and the dimension of the whole universe prevailing. And it's like a mind is melting away, and what's left is the pure awareness. So it's the root of our being that we can find. There's no we, of course, because we is just the construct of the mind. When it melts away, it's the no ego, no self, no mind, but the pure awareness. So go there. You don't have to go like Nanzen says, don't seek for it. Just realize that awareness. Then you are there. Let's keep on reminding this state and the way to get there. Again, just realize it by being aware. You being aware as much as the universe is aware. Thank you.